So, Mrs. Bowdy, my
Yes.
apologies for not, we should have done this a long time ago. You were on my to-do list and way leads on to way, but here we are. So you are in your second or third year as the chair of the Westerly School Committee.
So actually still my first.
Really?
So, yes. So,
Time kind of warps.
yes. So after the 2016 election, I became the chair.
Right.
So almost 1 year.
So coming up on your 1 year anniversary.
Yes.
How's it been for you? I mean, everybody's got their own opinions from the outside looking in, but as an experience, has this been enjoyable, edifying, frustrating, all of the above?
All of the above.
Right.
I've actually learned a lot about, the education system, a lot about working more with people. I mean, I'm used to working with people all the time, but in a different environment. Like I said, I've learned a lot about the educational system and gained even more of an appreciation for what my predecessors did as chair. It is a lot of work.
Yes.
It's a lot of good work, though. So I'm completely invested.
Yeah, but don't you find that there's also, there's a lot of good work, and I'm sure there is much to be very gratified by.
Absolutely.
But there's also, I mean, I've been something of a student of the school committee, and there have been some bumpy patches along the way. During your tenure and prior to it, it's nothing unique to your administration, but it strikes me as being a very complicated high wire act that you have to do, particularly as the chair. Is it the chair or the president?
Yes, the chair.
As the chair of the school committee, because you are working with so many different constituencies at the same time. You've got your teachers, you've got the parents, you've got the athletic folks, you've got all these different interests all coming for oftentimes a final say, yay or nay. Are we going to do this or are we not? And pulling the trigger on that kind of decision making is a daunting responsibility.
Well, the first thing that I learned quickly when I was first elected in 2012 was that you get elected and then everyone has a misconception that the school committee actually controls the day-to-day efforts of the administration. That could not be further from the truth.
Even members of the school committee believe that from time to time.
That's absolutely true.
Yes.
I like to look at it as the superintendent of Westerly Public Schools is the CEO of the company. The CEO owns all the resources, meaning the buildings, the people, the operations, day-to-day activities. The school committee is there more to A, hire a superintendent, and then B, develop policy that guides the actions day-to-day of the superintendent and all his assigns.
So I'm glad you expressed that way, because I'm of a mind that both the town manager and the school superintendent, I think from the 30,000-foot level, their job is to run the show and to keep you informed as to what they're doing. And every now and then you can inquire as to, well, why would you do it that way? Or how about this instead? That sort of a thing, instead of critiquing the decision-making process of your chief executive, in your case, the superintendent. But that is definitely a minority position in this community, and I would say probably in America today. Everybody's second-guessing the people they hire to be the experts. As soon as they come up with something that doesn't conform with their aspirations, they find fault with this person for being wrong.
Well, certainly not every recommendation that our past superintendent has, and I don't expect every recommendation that our new superintendent has, will be universally supported across the school committee. That's why there are 7 members, and we operate by majority. Some of us do have a better understanding about the hands-off approach than a couple of members.
A preference.
What do you mean a preference?
Well, as opposed to an understanding. Everybody understands a hands-off approach, but I think
what they exercise
the folks that
is
you
different.
are referring, they they disagree. They think that they should be hands-on with,
Right.
with the decision-making process, which is it's a legitimate position to take, but not one that you share.
No, I do not share that. I mean, I know how a company works, and you know, in the highest aspect of this is a company. We're here for our students. That is why we are here, above and all, and we have to keep that focus consistently every day in everything we do. And Dr. Garceau gave a presentation last night that gave everyone an understanding of his vision and where he thinks we're going as a district. And in that meeting, at the end of the presentation, I said something like, if we can all keep our focus on that and look every day at what we're doing, and I mean from the school committee down to every teacher, custodian, aide, everyone, superintendent, look at what we're doing every day and say, is this meeting those goals? Is this going to get us there? And I look at that as effectiveness. So should we be doing something, that means, are we being effective? And then you look at, if it's something that definitely is going to help us get to our goals, then are we doing it the best way possible? Something else Dr. Garceau mentioned last night was he doesn't want to ever hear, well, that's the way we've always done it, so that's the way we'll continue to do it. And I subscribe to that theory in my work every day, and also here for the school committee. I mean, we have to constantly grow and change. How can we expect our students to want to constantly grow and change if we're not setting that example?
Right. Your reference to the school district being a business, a company. One of the big business activities that you're involved in right now is the elementary school redesign thing.
Yes.
I was following that as closely as I could while remaining conscious for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's been a little while. You know, we took the summer off as far as that's concerned, and now we've re-engaged with it. Where are we? We had a vote in November where the proposal from the district was voted down by the voters.
Right.
Okay. So then what happened?
So we knew we wanted to engage again because obviously, as a school committee, one thing we all agree on universally is that our elementary schools need work.
Yes.
There is not a doubt in anyone's mind about that. So I know we're all eager to move forward. So what we did is we established a building subcommittee with Gina Fuller and Christine Misto as co-chairs. And there are some members of Westerly Public Schools on that subcommittee as well as members of the public. We just requested the town council to sign a letter of intent to the Rhode Island Department of Education, which basically just says, hey, here we are, we're Westerly, and
Right.
we want to move forward. So that's where we are right now.
Yet that in and of itself, and this was the thing that actually kind of drew me back into this, what can be a sometimes pretty banal kind of a conversation.
Right.
This letter is just a pro forma thing. It's like something for the files.
Correct.
Where the message from the school district or the school department is, we are interested in pursuing this particular aspiration right now.
Right.
And the co-signatory being someone from the town, either the town manager or someone from the town council, saying, we are aware that the school district is interested in pursuing this aspiration. Somehow, this time around, that turned into a prairie fire.
Exactly. And the reason it did, so we have the building subcommittee, which is a subcommittee that is advisory to the school committee. Then we have on the same level the town council and the school committee.
Right.
Those are the two bodies that need to engage to move anything forward.
Anything?
Well,
because
for this letter to ride.
Correct.
And
right.
even in the town council's attorney's advice, he said it has to be the full school committee requesting of the full town council, because as an advisory board to the school committee, the subcommittee doesn't have a say.
Right.
And that if we went down a path where we did not fully engage the school committee with the town council,
And just went at the behest of the subcommittee, then there would have been,
RIDE would not
it would
have
have been spit out like a bad bill.
It would have.
Yes.
So much more was made of that than should have been. It was really just a technicality, and
Right.
what I was trying to do is protect the rights of the school committee and follow proper protocol, nothing more.
So that's a perfect segue point to a question every time I've had a substantive conversation with either the current superintendent, former superintendent, or members of the town council who have taken a particular interest in the school district, the school department. Title 16.
Yes.
Basically, in the beginning, the first commandment of Title 16 is complete control. I can't remember the verbs now.
Control and, oh boy.
Care and control.
Care, yeah, the C's. Complete care and
control resides with the school committee.
With the school committee.
Yet, every year, around budget season, there seems to be this kind of a tug of war where I think both sides know that they're getting a little bit out of line, and I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way, but all care and control of the school district goes to the school committee.
Right.
Yet the town council is always demanding, well, not always, but is oftentimes, and in recent years, is very, very overt in its demands that you will give us this, you will provide us that. And that just has always struck me as kind of an inconsistency with the way that the arrangement is described.
So what I can say to that is really the town council's only authority as far as the school committee budget is appropriating the bottom line amount. What the school committee and the superintendent and his assigns, how we allocate that money is really none of the town council's concern. However,
yes,
both the town council and the finance board need a certain level of detail, obviously, to be able to say, okay, well, yes, we understand why they're requesting X.
Right.
So, you know, there's a fine line, but I see both sides.
And there's nothing wrong being collegial.
Absolutely.
You know, all the members of the town council are citizens of the town, so they're as entitled to the information as is the public, which also has sometimes yes and sometimes no had an appetite for granular information as pertaining to the budget.
And as you know, last year we took a massive undertaking to create budget books that literally were volumes of data, because that was what the finance board wanted to see, or so we thought. So volumes of data were created, not so efficiently. But I'm glad we went through that process, because it brought us all to a better understanding of where we were and what needed to be produced.
Sure.
So that we could all have a clear picture. So what I'm thinking is that this year's budget should be a lot easier to produce.
We have a whole new arrangement, speaking of the finance committee and the finance apparatus. It's a whole new planet this year.
Sure is.
With that. The people that were working in those areas are no longer there. And although I'm not sure that's true of the finance committee, but my point being, the school department now has a business manager, which is effectively like the finance director for the school district, and the town. They've decoupled the municipal finance and the school finance is no longer working out of, well, they could be in the same place, but they are two separate entities.
And neither of those positions is currently filled, as we know.
I didn't know that.
Well,
yes, I did. We had the Hawaiian guy who said aloha at the last minute.
And whatever. So we have Barbara Perino,
Mm-hmm.
who has stepped in and is doing a fantastic job. She is well-rounded and able to do everything that we currently need her to
Right.
do. Our only issue is how long can we keep her? And then with the jobs in the finance department, I would assume that our current personnel will be applying for those. That's only my assumption. I would hope that some of them get placed there. Again, that's my personal feeling. I have no involvement in the hiring process, obviously.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to a cleaner, more, yeah, you'll have to edit this. I'm looking forward to a cleaner, more efficient process going forward. And I really don't believe that the school committee and the administration will have to have 9 meetings on the budget like we did last year.
I suspect you're correct.
It was over the top. I mean, it was good work that needed to be done. So I don't regret it one bit. But
well, an adversarial arrangement, an adversarial relationship over things like the budget can be a very, very healthy thing.
Right.
But that turned toxic last year. That was crazy.
I agree. And it was a lot of he said, she said,
and personality clashes and all that sort of stuff. Things.
We don't have time to play those games. We need to keep our eye on the prize here.
So we have a new superintendent.
Yes.
And he is a much different personality than his predecessor. And I will, just to be clear, I was a big fan of Dr. Seitzinger's, and I'm very impressed with Dr. Garceau, but I am fascinated with the contrast between the two personalities and the two approaches to the job. Now, it's only October, and not much happens in the summertime as far as the school district is concerned. But
well, unless you look at what we had to do over the summer, we had a lot of personnel issues to handle and things like that. But as far as activity in the schools, certainly there was none.
Well, what happened over the summer? That was kind of quiet, I guess.
Well, it was a lot of it was in executive session. Some votes were taken in public, but it's just suffice it to say that there were many personnel issues that Dr. Garceau walked into, including one on day one, which was July 5th. So we had
my memory is refreshed. I know what you're talking about.
There you go.
And we're not going to go into any detail on that
we
stuff.
won't.
But ordinarily, the summers are kind of quiet for you guys.
Yeah,
maybe one meeting a month.
A little bit.
Right, right.
That wasn't this summer, but that's okay.
So now we've gotten September out of the way, which is traditionally just a month devoted to squabbling over buses and things like that. That went rather smoothly this year, did it not?
It did. And Sue Garino, who is our director of transportation, she has been doing a fantastic job with limited resources. And when we say that September busing went swimmingly, I don't know that she would agree with us, but in the end result, absolutely.
Is she a legacy holdover from the prior transportation administration?
No, she was not here under the prior administration. So she, right after Mr. Denemy left, she came in as a temporary director. And then when we posted the position, we hoped she would apply.
Well suited for the gig.
And she did.
Yes.
And she's doing
Mr.
great.
Denemy, I just want to throw it out there. That was an unfortunate situation with him because he did come in. I had a special needs kid in my family who the bus situation was really, there was a significant concern, and it just wasn't just in my family, it was throughout the district. And he came in and really got the trains running on time, so to speak.
You said you were a fan of Dr. Seitzinger, as was I. I was also a Pete Denemy fan.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
A very unfortunate, isolated incident.
Lonely at the top.
Exactly. But I mean, when you look at the facts, we did what we had to do.
No question.
It's very black and white.
I don't even think he would dispute that.
Right.
New ideas and new priorities to look forward to as the year unfolds. So what's in the pipeline?
So our number one objective as a school committee and as an administration as well, is the student outcomes, individual student outcomes. So as I'm sure you saw, our test scores are not where we would want or expect them to be. And it's plain and simple, that's unacceptable. And we have so many great things going on in this district that it kind of makes me wonder how that product came out. I mean, how those test scores were not shining like
Right.
where we are in every other area. But we've had the park for 2 years. That's going away.
Yeah, I know.
One of the issues, and Alicia Story, the assistant superintendent, talked about this when she presented to us a couple weeks ago. One of the issues is we have a hard time getting data that can serve as a baseline because tests are always changing, and we get 1 or 2 years of data and then we switch to another measurement. So do you ever really know where we stand? But we're going to the RICAS, which, like the MCAS in Massachusetts, is, I hope, will be a long-standing data collection point where we can really take some lessons out of that and make some significant gains and improvements.
Personally, not as the chair of the school committee, but personally, where do you come down on this whole modern obsession isn't really a fair word, but the standardized testing? You know, there was the Iowa Basics and the PSAT and the SAT once upon a time, and that it's not fair to compare 1977 to 2017, but it does seem over the last 10 years or so that a significant portion, not just one weekend a year, but a significant chunk of the school year is set aside specifically for the training and administration of the standardized tests for the faculty and staff and for the students at the expense of what they're supposed to be doing, what we're expecting them to do.
So the key word there is balance. I do think it's gotten out of control. I 100% believe that we need to have some standardized testing. Otherwise, how do we know?
Apples to apples.
How do you know as a parent where your own child stands, as a teacher, as a district, school to school, town to town, state to state, and now globally?
Right.
We need to know that. So I firmly believe that we need to have some measures in place. I do believe that has gotten out of control over the last few years, as you said, and you know, teachers have been accused of, not just here, but all over, have been accused of teaching to the test rather than really getting basic core learning to the kids.
But you could say they're being accused. You could also say they're being required. I think there are an awful lot of teachers who are to a point where they're leaving the occupation. They're going to do something else with their lives because the one thing that teachers used to be able to do, and I imagine they can still do it to a certain extent, but whenever I preface an observation with when I was a kid, take it with a grain of salt, but when I was a kid, teachers could improvise. Teachers could come in, they've got their curriculum and their syllabus, but they've also got this room full of personalities that they get to know, and they can kind of customize their presentation to that group of kids. Now, that's important, but the overarching, most important piece is the standardized test and making sure that the school hits the right numbers, because otherwise the villagers with pitchforks, so on and so forth.
So I agree that a lot of good teachers have become sour on teaching because of that, because they're put in a box, and the autonomy and the imagination that they used to be able to apply, there's no time for that anymore.
Right.
So again, the key word is balance. How do we find that balance? That's going to be the answer that I think everyone's looking for.
Right.
We do have to produce test scores. We have to be able to. We have to be able to show that we're turning out a good product here, and that our kids are CCR, college and career ready. And again, as Dr. Garceau said just last night, they need to be ready for what they choose to do, not what we choose for them to do. We can't box anyone in. And I think Westerly Public Schools, especially over the last few years, has done an incredible job expanding choice at the high school level, pathways, all different kinds of things
Right.
these kids can do. And when you say, when you were a kid, yes, when I was a kid, I graduated from Westerly High School in 1981, a long time
You're
ago.
just a child.
A long time
Yeah.
ago. And it was, you either did business courses or you did college courses, and that was pretty much
Did
it.
they have home ec back in the day?
Oh, they had home ec. I did not take it. But,
Shop and home ec, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, but I remember here at Babcock Junior High,
Right.
shop, home ec, things like that, and you know, a lot of those classes are still relevant today and are part of the current pathways.
Right.
So I think we're doing a fantastic job of expanding our offerings to our students, and we're listening to them.
And yet, with all of the advances that I completely support your assertion, the school has come a very long way since I came to town in 2006, when the high school was on the verge of losing its accreditation, and it was a perilous environment here. Now we have the most beautiful high school in the state, according to Architectural Digest, no less. And we're in the midst of what I'm inclined to believe that when it's all said and done, the elementary school redesign is going to be a marvelous improvement to the district.
I agree.
We've got a solid middle school in the middle of things. And yet, in this age of social media, and this will be the end of our conversation, in this age of social media, there is a dedicated cohort of parents who can do nothing but find fault with every aspect of the district. Now, I'm not asking you to take up arms against them now, but there wasn't social media once upon a time.
Right.
And so these things, it was more, over the back fence or, telephone tag or something like that. But now the message in the community can be morphed and remodeled and co-opted to any number of purposes. And it does leave the administration kind of in a lurch. There's no place to go. There's no safe place. You solve this person's problem, you build an enemy over here.
Right.
How does the school committee deal with this modern technology and this contemporary culture?
So, as a school committee member, I know that there's a lot of negative content out there about me and about others, but personally, I don't read it. I consider it invalid because if someone has a thought that they would like to share with me, by all means, contact me. I don't. I would bet I spend about 5 minutes a day on Facebook. I like to go in and see whose birthday it is and whatnot. But I don't see that as a platform for attacking people, attacking people's thoughts, especially when you don't know the facts. I have a lot more respect for people who will find out the facts and then share facts rather than opine and try to obliterate people by with technology.
Isn't it kind of ironic that for the past, my son is 16, so I'm going to say for the past 10 years, there has been this laser-like focus on bullying and proper behavior and empathy and all of that kind of stuff, and you give the parents a platform. Exactly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I would venture to say that many kids would be embarrassed if they knew what their parents were sharing on Facebook. And we as a school committee, we as an administration, teachers, adults in general in the community are supposed to be setting an example. So I get really disappointed by that. But then what I do is I try to remember why I got into this in the first place. And the reason I got into this is because I volunteered in youth sports for about 20 years. And then I just love my community. I love our kids, and I will do anything I can to help our community improve. I'm very grateful to be here, and that is the only reason that I do this.
And we're very grateful to take your time this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
And we'll do it again in a month or so.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.